The ultimate way to fight darkness is through light. I'm not going to be defined by haters. They're not going to shape my life. I'm going to control my destiny.
Welcome back to Inspire Change with Jordan Mulligan. I'm super excited to share today's episode with Rabbi Simon Jacobson, the author of the book Toward a Meaningful Life, which takes 4,000 years of philosophies, faith, teachings, and turns them into a book about how to live a meaningful life. It's such a fantastic book, but Simon Jacobson is full of wisdom. Today, we talk about many different things, and there are areas in your life where you may be doing things wrong, where it's in love, on social media, in business, and Rabbi Simon Jacobson clears up a few of those mistakes you might be making and how not to make them to live a great, meaningful life. Today's episode was made possible, as always, at Mulliganbrothers.com, where you can get ready for the start of 2024 with the Not a Journals, the success journal that actually leads to success, and the Memento Mori posters, the life calendars that are behind me. That's my life plotted out right there, that remind you of how precious time is. And funnily enough, that's something that we spoke about with Rabbi Simon Jacobson. And things like the afterlife, the meaning of life, purpose, what happens when we die, all those kind of great things. Rabbi Simon Jacobson talks exactly that. But before you all run over to the description to click on Mulliganbrothers.com, let's dive into the interview with Rabbi Simon Jacobson.
For those who don't know, they might have seen you on the channel a couple of times now, but for those who don't know, just introduce yourself and what you do.
My name is Simon Jacobson. I'm probably most known as the author of Toward a Meaningful Life, a major book that was published in 1995, originally by William Morrow, translated since in 14 different languages. I'm a pretty internationally known speaker and teacher and writer and content creator and mentor to many. As you can see from my look, on one hand, I come from biblical times, which means part of a tradition that goes back to the time of the Hebrews, the Israelis, the Jews in Egypt. Not that I remember that, but that's what they tell me. And trying to bridge those timeless teachings. The Bible is the best-selling book in history. To try to bridge those timeless teachings in a timely fashion that speak to the contemporary challenges of our time, addressing the psychological, emotional, spiritual issues that we all struggle with, both in our personal lives and our relationships. The positives, as in love, what is love, and what is intimacy and sexuality, as well as dealing with pain and suffering and all the different traumas and fears of our lives. So I head a organization called the Meaningful Life Center, meaningfullife.com, where we produce ongoing programming on all platforms and all formats addressing those issues, which is exactly as the name implies. A spiritual wellness center, we call it, that offers life skills and finding deeper meaning in every aspect of your life to live up to your fullest potential.
We've obviously covered a lot of subjects before in previous conversations, and I think one of the conversations led us talking about sort of mindset, the inner workings of our mind, and the thoughts, and everything within, but we didn't get to speak much of the physical body. And I'd love to hear sort of your opinion on how we should treat our physical body. Does it correlate to our mental health? If we have a physically healthy body or unhealthy body, does that have any effect on our mental health as well? Let's go. Let's dive into it.
So absolutely, there is a statement: a sound soul and a sound body. If you think of the body as the vehicle and the soul as the captain of the ship, if one is not working properly, the other is going to be affected. So you can have a very healthy soul and a vibrant soul, but if the vehicle is compromised, it's going to affect us. So a healthy human being is a unit, is a synthesis of body and soul. And that comes down to very simple: a healthy body. Healthy in diet, in the right rest and sleep, in hygiene, and in all the bodily functions to be as smooth as possible. Even on a basic level, if a person struggling with illness or disease or injuries, they'll be distracted. They won't be able to focus on the purpose of their lives. But more than that, the body is considered to be a sacred vehicle. It's actually called a divine vehicle. So many people mistaken, they think the soul is God's domain and the body is the world's domain. It's not correct. These are both divine entities that are meant to work hand in hand. At the end of the day, the deepest soul cannot do an act of charity and kindness without your arms, without your physical body. So it's interesting, it touches upon a very fundamental principle of the purpose of existence. This is a question asked by the mystics. Why couldn't souls just remain in heaven on a spiritual plane? Why do they need to come to this world? Because the mission and the goal is to transform the material world into a divine garden. That's what it's called, a divine home. And to do so, we need our bodies. So it's body and soul that work hand in hand, with the body being, like as I said, the vehicle, the arms and legs, and the soul giving the direction. And the joining of the two is critical. And it's actually even a commandment to protect your body, to keep it healthy, because it's sacred, the physical body. So being healthy is also being holy. In that sense, it's a divine gift and a divine responsibility. For instance, in Jewish thought, interestingly, you're not supposed to mutilate your body. You could say, I'm not hurting anyone else, but it's not your body. You were given the body as a gift. If someone gave you a gift, you wouldn't go tamper with it. You could beautify it, you could enhance it, but not in any way mutilate or harm yourself. So that's also part of the spiritual journey, is to make sure the body is joining together in the journey together with the soul.
To speak of the physical body, the way we look after it, we see routines. We speak about morning routines, not just for physical health though as well. That can be mental, it can be meditation, and it can involve work and study. But I'd love to know your thoughts on routine and if you have one yourself.
I want to just add something that I think will help understand the routines. So, in effect, it's important to understand that there are like two forces within us. We say body and soul. So there's the physical body, as I mentioned, vehicle, and the soul, the spirit within it. But there's something more to it. Body also represents bodily needs and bodily desires. So in a way, you could say every one of us is always battling between two voices. The voice of the body, which says, serve me, I have needs, I have desires, I have pleasures. And the voice of the soul, which is more a transcendent soul. The voice of transcendence. Why are we here? What's the purpose of life? So when you eat a meal, on a very basic level, you could eat a meal in several ways. You could say, hey, I'm hungry, I need fuel, and just indulge. Or you could eat the meal and say, this food that I'm eating, I'm elevating and refining, because the energy, as it will turn into my blood, flesh and blood, the energy I will use for constructive purposes and make the world a better place. So you see, you could also elevate the physical body towards spiritual ends. Or you can just indulge and just be selfish about it. And there's an interesting statement that says that when a wicked person walks on the street, the cobblestones cry out, what right do you have to walk on me? We've never transgressed, we've never hurt anyone. What right do you, a person who's hurt other people, walking on me? So when you look at an apple on a tree, and you rip the apple off the tree, the apple can say to you, how are you going to eat me? Meaning, how are you going to use me? If you use my energy to help other people, then you've elevated me, because I couldn't do that on the tree. But if you've used their energy to hurt other people, then you've desecrated me. Might as well leave me on the tree. So in a sense, how we interact with the material world, our bodies interact with the material world, are part of our choices and our spiritual journey. So essentially, the routines that are necessary are not just the routines of proper hygiene, exercising, good diet, and properly taking care of your body. That goes without saying, cleanliness and all that comes with that. But it's more than that. The routines also include making sure your body is aligned with your soul's mission. So, talk about myself, for example, a routine which goes back, this is a tradition that goes back thousands of years, that as soon as you wake in the morning, before you do anything else, you voice of gratitude. Thank you for returning my soul to me. It's an actual prayer, a meditation, a chant. Thank you for returning my soul to me. So the body, your mouth, is actually articulating those words. What are you doing? You're saying, I'm not just here, I don't take my life for granted. I was granted another day. I woke up. So I have to use the opportunities to somewhat spiritualize and refine the world around me. And you begin that day. So both body and soul are communicating with each other. If you don't do that, what happens is, okay, your body's hungry, or it's tired, or wants to do some business, and your soul somewhat is going off on its own agenda, or doesn't, or just silenced. In a way, that's the first routine that aligns body and soul toward this mission. And you need both. And then there are certain prayers that you say. We also wash our hands. That's a custom in the morning. And then there's certain prayers. In other words, you don't just jump into the business day. You go in well prepared. You go in just like you see athletes or you see people in many situations, they first do warm-ups. So prayer and study are ways that you begin to acclimate yourself before you enter into we'll call the battles of life. So I like to call it immersing your soul in a spiritual spa. SPA being an acronym for study, prayer, action. It's 3 routines, and one is cognitive, second is emotional, and the third is behavioral conditioning. Putting your head in the right place. Meaning before you read the news and you read any updates, put your head, read something spiritual, something that puts that focus on the deeper purpose of your life. Read Toward a Meaningful Life, read Man in Search of Meaning, or any books like that, of that nature. Even a small little section. So it gets your mind in the right place. It's like a cleanser. Your mind is like focusing on transcendent values. The second is prayer, which is emotional. A poem, a song, anything that emotionally gets you into a very pure and sacred place. Because our emotions are going to be stimulated throughout the day in many ways, but you want to enter the day with that power. And finally, behavioral. Put a little money in a charity box, or give something to someone that you meet, or share a kind word with someone. So when you take your cognitive, your emotional, and your behavioral faculties and align them, that is the routines that help your body and soul work together toward the higher purpose and meaning of life.
We're going to move on to one of the things we spoke about earlier, which was, and you're on social media quite a lot. You know, you're on YouTube, Instagram, and there's a lot of people with eyeballs on yourself. And we get this a lot with outside of the social media world, but it's like haters, negativity. I want to know on how you deal with negativity from other people, or as some of our viewers would call them, haters.
It's a very sad phenomenon, sad reality, dealing with haters, because many of them are irrational. And sometimes it turns to violence and hurt. And we know what has been done throughout history. The different discrimination and racism. As a Jew, we've experienced anti-Semitism, the Holocaust, and so on. So this just brings out, it's like, reflects the worst of humanity. How I deal with it and how I suggest others deal with it is this. You try to avoid it as much as possible. In other words, to engage with a hater usually doesn't get anywhere, because they already have their prejudices and biases, and they're not ready for a conversation. They hate you before they even met you. If there's rare instances where somebody you feel you can engage with them and maybe enlighten them a bit, that's another story. Or it's someone that inevitable, they work with you, they're a co-worker or a relative. So, as I said, the first thing is to avoid this, because you're basically dealing with toxic energy. Haters are toxic. I'm not getting now into why they hate, that's another thing. But they're just toxic energy, and it's like trying to fight toxins with what? So if you're in a situation where you feel you could have a conversation, or someone, like I said, inevitable, so then my approach is not debating, not tit for tat, definitely not reciprocating with hatred back, but basically trying to plant a seed, because I do like to believe that every human being has some goodness in them, and they've just either been brainwashed or been fed something which is completely false. Maybe they have a lot of anger in them. And this is one of the ways a lot of haters have a lot of resentment and anger. And one of their ways is finding a scapegoat and blaming someone or hating someone. and seeing if you could reach that soft spot in them. Like, like I once spoke to someone who called themselves an anti-Semite, and I was at an airport, and I said to him, and he was kind, he was pleasant, but he says, I just don't like Jews. He told me that. So I said, is there a reason you're letting me know? Do I need to know this? Okay, fine. So then I said to him, you have children? So I started to try to find somewhere, a spot where we may have something in common. And it ended up being a civil conversation. I don't know how deep rooted, and I didn't feel it's my job. At some point you have to learn, choose your battles. I don't have to go change everyone out there. So I think he went away with some type of positive experience. He actually subscribed to our emails. So maybe something did impact him. So you try to plant a seed or two that just introduces, like it is, I compare it sometimes, I don't want to compare it exactly, but people who've been traumatized or very, very angry or a lot of bitterness. What you try to do, if you can't get through to them, you drop some light. A little light dispels darkness. Share with them a good thought. But at the end of the day, I don't want in any way condone or tolerate haters. Haters have led to real damage and destruction. So I'm never going to say, be kind to them. I'm not saying be mean, but you cannot accept hatred. It's just not an approach. And sometimes the approach would be what would you say to someone that hates you for no reason? So again, I would choose not to have a conversation if possible, and just avoid it. Or if you're having a conversation, just try to be positive and bring some positive energy into it. There are some people that almost nothing you can say. That's my approach. And in many of my programs, as you said, because I have the opportunity to speak, so I'm proactive, I'll say many things that I hope, even if a hater is listening, may also click with them. Because the ultimate way to fight darkness is through light. I'm not going to be defined by by haters. They're not going to shape my life. I'm going to control my destiny.
Why help others? Just on the positive side of this, what is the necessity to help others?
Well, on a very basic level, everyone understands that if you're blessed with something, you should share and show humility and show gratitude by sharing. If someone's blessed with more money, by showing gratitude by sharing with others. You are helped, you help others. If you're given intelligence or wisdom, you share with others advice and so on. I think everyone understands that. But it's something much deeper than that. We discussed it earlier, but I'll just say it again here. We're all part of one organism. When I help you, I'm helping myself. And when you help me, you're helping yourself. Because the entire human condition, the entire human race is one big entity. So when we help others, we're helping ourselves as well. So I'm not saying do it for selfish reasons, but helping others is really bringing kindness into the world, is essentially a recognition that we're all part of it and that all of us are responsible for each other. And just like the human body will, if the blood cells need to send resources to one part of the body that's injured, it's also good for them. It's all part of one organism. And finally, I'll say one more thing. When a person is blessed with something in life, there's a reason they were blessed. They were blessed because God wanted them to share with others, to show kindness, to show graciousness. So when you're blessed with something you're not giving, you're actually not fulfilling why you were blessed. That's the reason you were given that additional resource. It's like a gift to give to others and share with others. Those are some of the basic reasons.
I wanted to link this on to the next point. Is one of the chapters in the book is the wealth and charity, and you put those two together in the section. Is there a reason for that?
Yes, absolutely. I'll share a story. It says that King David approached God and said, "You, God, have all the resources in the world. You have all the gold and silver and all the money. Why did you create a class system where you have those that have more and those that have less, the wealthy and the poor, which creates so much misery in life, poverty, inequality, abuse, everything that comes due to the different social and economic classes?" And God responds, because if I created everybody having the same amount, there would be no chesed, there'd be no kindness in the world. Who would do kindness? Because everybody has equally, everybody does not need anyone else. So I created a world where there's a symbiosis, that everyone has something that they can give to another. So there should be a give and take, that there should be giving in this world. which essentially means that when you're blessed with wealth, you may think it came completely through your efforts and your ingenuity and your creativity. In truth is no, it's a gift that was given to you because God trusted you that you'll be wise enough to understand that you're given more, so you should be kind and give to others. So wealth actually means you were given wealth in order to be charitable. It's not two separate things. Many people see wealth, okay, my responsibility since I was blessed is also to share. But it's deeper than that. The only reason you were blessed was to share. That's the main reason I joined the two.
A large portion of our audience are entrepreneurs, businessmen, and they have their goals, and businesswomen, and they have their goals to run companies, and they've probably got purpose behind that. And a lot of those people also need the finances to run those companies, to be able to give to charity and those kind of things. Is there practical steps for acquiring wealth?
The interesting irony is, the more you give, the more wealthy you'll become. People think the more I hold on to, so I can then save and I can accumulate interest and make profits. It's not the case. From this perspective, the more you give to others, the more wealth will be generated in your life. First of all, you open up channels of giving by giving. So then you get in return. Secondly, we talked about vibes. There's the giving vibe. It's just an expansive attitude. I would ask you, if you ever want to do a project, go speak to very wealthy people and ask them, what does charity do for you? The ones that are charitable, they'll say, charity has given me more than I've given. Because it gives something back. It also expands your consciousness. A parasite is the attitude is always taking. It creates insecurity. Giving expands your consciousness. I remember someone telling me, a donor of ours, he said, when I really grew, I came from a millionaire into a billionaire, is when I started giving big charity. Yeah, I said, how'd that come about? He said, I was sitting I wanted to meet some of the biggest wealthy people. Once I reached 100 million or something, I knew to get to the next level, I need to meet very serious business people, but I couldn't meet them. So I joined the board of one of the charitable organizations. So now I'm sitting with the billionaires. And one of them said, so you joined here. He knows why I joined, because he joined for the same reason. In other words, to meet new contacts that can invest a lot more money and move from one category, from millionaire to billionaire. He says, if you want to do that, you're going to have to give. Because when you give bigger, people will respect you. They'll see you have that expansiveness. You have the courage to give. So he said, the truth is exactly right. The more I gave, the more I made. So I think one way of wealth, many people think is the other way around. Hold on to my money as much as I can. I'll make more and then I'll give. No, giving actually is a way of generating wealth. Finally, there's also God is in the picture. The blessings. When you give, you open up channels of blessings. We all know generating wealth is not always based on your logic. Sometimes you came a minute late and someone else came before you and they get the deal. So there's also elements that require some grace, some gifts, some blessings. And finally, the final point which I make in the book, which I emphasize in the book, Charity and Wealth, is that money itself is symbolic of the ego. That's why it's so hard to give away from it, because it reflects for us what some people call soul energy. Your time, your energy, your ingenuity, your creativity. So money represents all of you. And when you give, you're basically elevating yourself to another plane, that you're not just a person who's controlled by your ego and your egocentric needs and self-interest, you become a greater person. That's why charity is such a powerful tool that transforms us into people that are far greater than just those that take care of their own needs.
So sorry to interrupt this amazing interview with Rabbi Simon Jacobson, but today's video is powered by www.mulliganbrothers.com, linked down below, where you can get the Not a Journal, a success journal that actually leads to success. It breaks down your goals into tiny little tasks every single day, your weekly goal, your monthly goal, your yearly goal, your life goals, and then breaks them down into tailored tasks to actually get stuff done. And also the Momentum Mori posters. These ones behind me, that's my life right there. That's my poster, my frame that I use on a weekly basis. It reminds you how precious time is. The process of filling that in is such a humbling experience. It will absolutely change your life. It's linked down below. It's a great gift to get ready for 2024. But let's dive back into this amazing conversation with Rabbi Simon Jacobson.
What's your thought on the idea that destiny, and with destiny, I think you've said that everybody has a certain type of music in them, or they have something like a song within them. Is there a concept of destiny?
Yes, destiny needs to be qualified, because you could say if our lives are predestined, then basically our free will doesn't exist. We're talking about navigating, means you have the ability to navigate. If that's also controlled, then you can't answer and say, oh, the circumstances don't, but I can't even control how I navigate. You could control how you navigate. The destiny, I would divide into two areas. One is destiny, the things that you can't control, like where you were born, what school you went to. I mentioned, you have blue eyes or brown eyes. Are you more cerebral or more emotional? The things that are like wired into us, our genetic makeup. You don't choose which parents you have. But what is not destiny is how you're going to navigate that. Then there's another aspect of destiny that dictates that you are part of writing the script of your destiny. By choosing the right attitude, you can actually write, no matter what happens to you, your story, your narrative will be a good one. So many people feel fatalistic. Since something happened to me, my life is doomed. No. It's not doomed. You have control. And your destiny is a combination of the circumstances and how you navigate it. So the end of your book will be not just what challenges you had, but how you navigated through them and what became of you. So let's say someone you mentioned experiencing the loss of a child. So that's happened. You didn't control that. But the rest of your story is what you did with it. If it destroyed you to the point, God forbid, you became so demoralized that you can't function, you wouldn't be sitting here and doing this with me. That would be one story, but you didn't do that. You did pick yourself up, you learned from it, you became greater and stronger, and maybe it's a big driving force to a lot of the good you do. So you written the script that your so-called tragedy has turned into a beautiful story. So in that sense, there is destiny, but we are part of the writers of that destiny. In other words, it's not someone else writing the script for us. What God puts into place are the coordinates that happen to us, but the script will be how we react to that. And you'll see two people deal with the same tragedy very differently. So they're different scripts. Two people deal with trauma, deal with difficulties in very different ways. Some people, as I said, rise to the occasion, some don't. Something in between. That's how I would define destiny.
I've spoken before on camera about duty and responsibility, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
We once lived in a world where responsibility was a given, because it was a difficult life. When you don't have all the machinery and the technologies and the comforts of modern life, and you're struggling to make ends meet, and you have to work, I mentioned toiling in a field just to bring home a pound of potatoes so you can have dinner. And we didn't have a lot of leisure time and downtime and free time. So responsibility was just a built-in thing. A family grew up, the father worked hard, the mother worked hard, the children saw and they participated. It's only in the modern world where a new phenomenon was created, a lot of free time, leisure. Nobody has to sit and toil under the sun and slave to make ends meet. There are people that do, I'm not suggesting there are, but many don't. And therefore children grow up with a sense of entitlement, which on one hand is a blessing. They don't have to work in the fields. On the other hand, it cultivates a certain taking for granted and sense of entitlement, which essentially is the antithesis to responsibility. That's where you find many young men and women. Why should I be responsible? I've had many people say, why do I need to be responsible? They don't even understand the importance of it. Why should I be responsible? My parents are responsible for my education, for my living, and I've never developed that sense of obligation. Whatever that responsibility is, responsibility to community, responsibility to charity, responsibility to friends, even responsibility to yourself. Things have become devalued, essentially. And that has created, I think, a crisis in the area of responsibility. Now, yes, you're working for a job. Your boss wants you to do something. If you want your paycheck, you're going to have to do it. But even there, you'll find people try to cut corners and try to avoid. Responsibility is a gift. It's not an obligation. Many people see responsibility, I have no choice, but I'm responsible to do it. If you love somebody, you don't say, I have no choice. I love to do this for you. So responsibility becomes a gift, not a burden. And that's the crisis that we live in, is to try to teach, again, the mission-centric life dictates responsibility. A life that has no mission, hey, I want to do whatever I want today. Don't tell me what to do. That's what many people, don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me I'm responsible. I'm not responsible for anything. I'm not responsible to you. I'm not responsible to the environment. I'm not responsible to others. But a person on a mission never says that. What do you mean? A military person in a battle knows I have to fight this battle. I have a responsibility. I can't pull away. But most people don't feel that way. So another example would be an astronaut goes to space. There's a mission, therefore there's a responsibility. Many people don't feel they're on any mission. So why should I be responsible? I'm responsible to make sure I'm happy, that's all. So there's a real distortion, it's almost an erosion of the fundamental essence that a human being is, by definition, a responsible creature. And it's created a lot of the selfishness we see, and therefore a lot of the conflicts, and a lot of, frankly, pettiness and apathy. I can't resist. When the guy asked his friend, what's worse, apathy or ignorance? He said, I don't know and I don't care. That's the ultimate of no responsibility. I don't care. Don't bother me. I'm busy. A lot of leisure, a lot of wasted time, a lot of living vicariously through others. And that sense of urgency and that sense of responsibility to yourself, to family, to community, to the world is tremendous need today. That's why I wrote a whole chapter just on that.
Something I want to talk about on that we've spoke before on camera is about relationships. And one of we had a conversation recently. I can't remember. It was one of the interviews, but it was one of the most important decisions you can make is your life partner, who you choose to marry. But yeah, how do you go about choosing a life partner? What qualities should you be looking for when you do that?
So it's not an easy question to answer, but I will say a few points. I think it goes back to a lot of the themes we've been talking about. They talk soulmates. If you don't know who you are, can you really find someone that will complement you? Many of us don't. Talked about responsibility. It's hard for me to imagine that someone doesn't have a sense of responsibility for themselves, to others, is going to be able to be in a healthy relationship. Because a relationship is about responsibility as well. It's not just the fun part, the commitment part, that the other part, your partner needs something from you. Whether it's a menial thing like taking out the garbage or something more significant. And you can't, irresponsible, many people don't want to get married because it's a responsibility. What do I need this responsibility for? I have someone else supporting me, or I don't need another person in my bedroom, in my room, in my house. That's different than me. So what it does is, the very relationships by definition is an extension of human beings by definition, which is that we're here not just to take care of yourself. You're here to serve. You're here to give. And part of that is a relationship. Where more is there give than in love in a relationship, where you're giving, where you're there for another person. So I think the same crisis of relationship spills over into the crisis of, the same crisis of responsibility spills over into the crisis of relationships and commitments and understanding what love is. Many people love, they'll say, I love myself. That's love. The idea of loving another only if I get something in return. I remember once counseling someone who was having difficulties finding a soulmate, a partner. And I saw that he was a narcissist, basically. So I said, do you ever hear of the concept of unconditional love? So he, without missing a beat, he says, yeah, if my partner would do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, then I'd have unconditional love. I said that all those ifs are called conditions. He didn't realize that. Okay. So then I said, do you have any blind spots? He said, yes, but I know what they are. I said, so they're not a blind spot. In other words, a person is completely not self-aware. He's totally consumed with himself. And he's telling me that he can't find a relationship. I said, you need to stop being so consumed with yourself. And he said, what do you mean? I'm finding someone who's also going to be Like I said, yeah, you're looking for someone that's going to be an accessory to you. You want another accessory. It's not love. That's loving yourself and seeing if somebody else is also there to love you. You know, I said, but he did not have the concept. He has to be educated. This is a common problem in our society, not because people are bad, because we're not educating people that way. Most of our education system, let's be honest, our schools, the best schools, are teaching you how to develop your tools to make a lot of money. Simple as that, to build a career, respectable career. There are the schools that talk about values and you have to give back, but it's not as important as getting into Ivy League school where you're going to learn to make a lot of money. And yes, be charitable. How many classes in business do you know talk about charity? There may be some exceptions. It's not common because it's all about me, and how I'm going to become bigger. That idea that you're here to serve. You know, I speak very often to people who claim they don't believe in God. They call themselves atheists, agnostics, and so on. And when I say, you know, I have a story in my book called the story where Rabbi Yitzchak Berditchev, a great rabbi in the 19th century, tells a self-proclaimed atheist, the God you don't believe in, I also don't believe in. Because let's first define God. So I always say to people, I'm going to define something here and tell me if you accept this. The idea of life is not just about me, it's about serving a higher purpose than yourself. Most people say yes. I said, you know, that's God. Call it by any name you like. I don't care what it's called. They say, no, but that's not a God out there watching us. I said, that's your childish stereotype. Is the idea that you're instead of worshiping yourself, you're worshiping something greater than yourself. Can you accept that? And people say yes. So they think God is the God that is like the man sitting with a long white beard in heaven on a throne, ready to strike us with lightning when we misbehave. I said, that's nursery school God. That's a childish, juvenile image from comic books, from fairy tales. It's not a real God. The idea of God is that there's something greater than we are. You don't want to use the word God? I don't care. I'm not invested in the word God. My point is that if you don't have that attitude, life is very different. If someone says to me, my life is to be selfish and satisfy my own needs as much as I want, I look at them, I'll smile, I'll say, God bless you. Or you don't want to have God, maybe be blessed, and that's it. As I said, I'm not looking to debate someone. You're happy, you're happy. I can give you an argument against that, but if that's what you feel, that the ultimate purpose in life is indulging in your own pleasures, you know, so in other words, it's not about any legacy, about anything eternal. If something makes me happy right now, instant gratification, doesn't matter. Are you ready to hurt other people? Some say, maybe, maybe not. Most people don't like to say, I'm ready to hurt someone. So I say, so good, this is a philosophy of your life. You know, I personally cannot live that way. It just doesn't make sense to me that that's life. So, but as soon as you have the attitude, there is some higher purpose and mission, then responsibility follows and relationships follow, a healthy relationship. Because then the relationship is also part of that so-called higher purpose. It's not just about me getting my needs met because I need sex or I need pleasure or I need a companionship or I need someone to come with me to a party or a dance partner, you know. It becomes something that's transcendent. So I use the word transcendence a lot because I think it captures in a very non-threatening way a transcendental life versus a existential one versus one that is all about my needs. Most people can relate to that.
A lot of the things we've spoken about today is people have those shields up. You know, they have, like you say, especially with narcissistic tendencies and just being selfish in general. Like a lot of it stems from protecting themselves at some point, or they've been through something at some point. But how do you get people to lower those, you know, put down the weapons and, you know, start to have a different thought process?
People come to me all the time for advice. When they ask me that question, I try to understand, first of all, why do you have all these defenses up? And it's usually because they've been hurt. They've been disappointed, their heart was broken, they've been abused. So you want to, so let's establish that's the case. You want to help the person separate between what happened to them and who they are. The problem is that we identify sometimes with our hurt. So now, the only way for me to be is to have my armor up and my defenses. And you have to teach people that you're more than your defense. You're more than just protecting yourself. And it's hard work. It's not always easy because these are deeply embedded fears and deeply embedded concerns that people have. So you try to elicit something where there is some trust, help build that trust. And the trust usually will build that they'll be able to feel more open. Like I'll ask someone, is anyone you trust in this world that you're ready to speak to? Some will say, no, I don't have anyone I trust. Well, it's important to find someone like that. Some say, I don't even believe I can find someone. I've been always hurt, but I've been betrayed, violated. So I try to be that trusting person so that they see there is that capacity. And you just work on that. It all depends on the level of how much hurt there is. But defenses are in direct proportion to people's hurt level. The more hurt, the more defenses go up. And we talked about the path of least resistance earlier. You have to also keep in mind, for a person, let's say, not to get into a relationship and not to marry, means because they're more comfortable where they are and they don't want to take that risk. But there's another side. Is there a downside to that you will forever be alone in life? Just like you have armor, you don't let anyone in, but also no one's going out. It's like a locked city. So you have to try to get people to realize that there's more to life. But it's very hard when people don't believe in themselves or they don't believe that they have the potential. It's very hard to change their mind. So you have to just keep on showing them there's more opportunities, expand your horizons. I'm a believer that you don't always have to assault somebody who's in real fear, has real armor and defenses. You don't always have to attack their defenses. You have to show them that there's another world. Sometimes taking them to, let's go for a trip somewhere. They'll go for in your mind and dream about something that doesn't have all these limitations. You try to open up their horizons in other areas. So then they can come back and maybe say, oh yes, there may be new possibilities. A lot of people they resigned and they write off their own potential and possibilities. That's what often is the way to go. In other areas where they can excel, that's not threatening. Because if you try to attack them head on in the area where there's most resistance, very often you get too much pushback. So you go to a more neutral area. You're good at writing, you're good at music, you're good at this, why don't you excel there? And as you excel there, then you can bring it back and spills over. End of the day, confidence breeds confidence. And demoralization breeds demoralization. So you need to always bring more light, more positivity.
What do you think the meaning of life is?
Well, I could speak about the general meaning, and then I think each one of us has to customize that. Overall, the general meaning is to take the gifts that you were given and produce something more that you have contributed more than what you received. It's like profit in business. Took $100, you turned it into 1,000. 100 pounds to 1,000 pounds. You've taken your gift, let's say, in the area of people person. You turned it into helping many people in your life. So I look at it like a transformative meaning is connected to transforming your environment, transforming yourself, and not being a victim of circumstances, not remaining stuck where you are, but in some way taking everything that's happened in your life and making your corner of the world a more refined and more spiritual place.
I just want to go into quickly sort of the resources that you provide on your websites and the books and stuff like that, and like just an overview of what people can find in those places.
I head the Meaningful Life Center, which is meaningfullife.com. You can go there. It's a repository of tremendous amount of wide array of resources, whether it's videos or articles, short stuff, long stuff, questions and answers, a lot of podcasts that address really every issue across the spectrum of life, A to Z, and take advantage of that resource. That's number one. Now that branches off into, we have a robust YouTube channel that's been growing recently tremendously. We have all the social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, as well as some books and many courses that can help you develop a better life, whether it's personal refinement or dealing with challenges like pain or anxiety or suffering or death, as well as how to build relationships, healthy relationships. So I have a bunch of courses. The best is to go to meaningfullife.com and just browse around, check it out. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to our weekly newsletter. We have a weekly newsletter. We send out thoughts every week and different interesting stuff. And we're also very active in engagement. People ask questions. We have question answer. We have a good correspondence system so people, you can bring any question you like. Nothing is taboo. Anything. It could be anonymous. We don't need the name. And we're happy to try to address it. And above all, we're trying to help every individual recognize their unique, indispensable mission in life. And you have something that you may not even be aware of your own great potential.
With your perspective now, with the things that you know, if you were to go back to the younger version of yourself, what would you tell that person?
You're going to be surprised by the answer. I would have said, don't just create content and don't just an inspiration, but make sure that you have with you people who are really good in marketing and distribution and know how to reach many people. Because sometimes creative people are good at the creating of something, but they're not good at execution and really bringing it to larger numbers. That is what I would tell myself.
Toward a Meaningful Life is an absolutely fantastic book. I told you guys I was reading it for a second time. I have almost finished it, but I will be picking it up again at some point in the future. It's one of those books that just has loads and loads of depth and knowledge and wisdom. It's going to be linked down below so you can grab a copy of it. If you're interested in us doing more projects in the future with Rabbi Simon Jacobson, please drop a comment down below, come onto Instagram, let me know all the guests you've enjoyed, and join this community. Hit the subscribe button. Only 10% of you guys are subscribed and hitting the notification bell. We want to get it to 15% by the end of 2024. We have a huge project coming for December. Well, 6 huge projects, some of which are with your favorite guest of all time. So hit that subscription button, hit the notification bell to be notified. And as always, today's video was powered by www.mulliganbrothers.com. So head to the link in the description where you can get the Not a Journal, a success journal that I created. I felt that journaling was too fluffy at the moment, is a nice way of putting it, where you're spending half your time filling in things you don't need to be filling in, learning how to use the journal. Whereas in reality, for me, journaling is about reaffirming our goals every single day. So we've got the week, the month, the year, and then the life goals. And you fill in these goals every single day, you reaffirm them and you break them down into task lists and you get them done. They're dateless, so you can buy them at any time, but they make great gifts for 2024. And also the Memento Mori poster, a poster that reminds you that you are mortal. It's the poster behind me. That's my poster. I've had it for some time now, but that's my poster and frame. You fill in the little squares and it represents your life. That's an empty one. And I fill this in every week, but the moment of filling that in is such a humbling experience. It will change your life, honestly. The reason I work so hard and tirelessly every single day is because I look at that poster. It reminds me. You can also get the Inspired Change t-shirts, hoodies, and the hardest work in the room and all that kind of stuff linked in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Have a blessed and productive day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.